Our headlines today. As 15 asylum seekers spend their first night on the Bibby Stockholm, more launch legal challenges and refuse to be moved onto the barge.
Making the grade in a couple of hours, thousands of pupils in Scotland will find out their exam results.
I can eat my dinner in a fancy restaurant.
A last goodbye to Sinead O'Connor as fans gather in County Wicklow ahead of her private funeral.
We may have fallen out of love with sending letters, but parcels are now the priority thanks to online shopping. Good morning from Royal Mail's brand new parcel super hub in Northamptonshire. We'll find out how they handle up to 90,000 parcels every hour.
Good morning. England ride their luck to reach the Women's World Cup quarter-finals, but they'll be without Lauren James, whose one-match ban could be extended following her sending off against Nigeria.
Thousands of hospital consultants in England will strike on September the 19th and 20th in a long-running dispute over pay. The walkout will affect routine services, but medics will continue to provide emergency cover, including at A&E. Ministers say their 6% pay rise offer was fair. Retail sales slowed in July as the wet weather dampened demand for summer clothing. The British Retail Consortium says total sales across the UK grew by 1.5% last month, compared with 2.3% in July last year.
And the bodies of 3 hill walkers who were reported missing on Saturday have been found in Glencore in the Western Highlands in Scotland. Coast Guard helicopters had joined mountain rescue teams searching for the party of 2 men and a woman. Police say there do not appear to be any suspicious circumstances.
Former Luton Town chairman and TV news presenter Nick Owens revealed he's undergone surgery for prostate cancer. The veteran broadcaster stood down as the Hatters chairman after 9 years in the role and was diagnosed in April. Nick, who's had his prostate removed, is urging men to get checked for the disease.
I had no symptoms whatsoever, but a lot of people do have some sort of symptoms. For goodness sake, speak to a doctor about it and get it checked, because if it's caught early, and I know it's a bit of a sort of medical cliche almost, but if it's caught early, you've got a chance. If it's left too late, you probably haven't.
The director of a prestigious sailing competition has said that the sport is no longer elitist after 2 teenagers from inner London won top prizes. Last week, Christopher Joel Frederick and Kai Hockley, both teenagers from Tottenham at Greig City Academy in Hornsey, won trophies at the Cowes Regatta. The week of racing is one of the longest running and most esteemed sailing contests in the world. Finally, if you didn't know, today is International Cat Day. And on today's lunchtime programme, which is at an earlier time of 11:20, you can look behind the scenes at Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, which currently has more than 100 cats, all seeking new homes.
When was the last time you sent a letter? More of us are turning away from traditional post, but demand for parcel delivery is growing.
So that means Royal Mail are having to change the way they operate. They're opening a new super hub in the Midlands, and Ben is there to tell us how it works. Morning, Ben.
Yeah, good morning. You can hear the sirens. The machine's all kicking into action. This new super hub will handle 235 million parcels every single year. These are just some of them here. This one's on its way to Leicester. I suspect that might be trainers. What have we got in here? This one is on its way to Warwickshire. They go all over the country from here, and it takes just 7 minutes for any one of these parcels to make its way through the system and be on its way. In a moment, I'm hoping we can show you how this brand new bit of kit works. It's all very high tech here. It's all automated. You've got a massive robotic arm there. These crates go in. They're then automatically tipped up. So hopefully we'll be able to show you that. But let me talk to you a little bit about why this new super hub is such a big deal. Because demand for parcels has been rising rapidly due to the increase in popularity of online shopping. In fact, the number of parcels being handled has doubled in the last decade, and Royal Mail handles something like 30% of those, 30% of the 10 million parcels that are delivered every day in the UK. But there's competition increasingly from rivals like Amazon Logistics and Every. But there is demand, and it's rising. According to Royal Mail, they handled something like 1 billion parcels in 2013. That's now up to 1.2 billion in 2023. Yet at the same time, we seem to have fallen out of love with sending letters. The Royal Mail says it delivered 20 billion back in 2004. It's now down to just barely a third of that, 7 billion this year.
Shall we look at today's papers then? Starting off with the Metro. Not all aboard is their headline after just 15 asylum seekers boarded the controversial Bibby Stockholm housing barge. The paper quotes the Care for Calais charity saying its lawyers had stopped 20 people being transferred there. They talked about some of them having previously suffered trauma at sea.
The Daily Mail is leading with a story about how Home Secretary Suella Braverman is launching a major clampdown today on what she calls crooked immigration lawyers following an investigation by the Mail newspaper.
Elsewhere, The Guardian leads with a new study on how air pollution is helping to drive a surge in antibiotic resistance.
And some fantastic pictures, I think, on all the front pages today of the England Lionesses celebrating their win over Nigeria, including this one of Chloe Kelly after that winning penalty.
Yeah.
It's quite something, wasn't it?
It really was. The way she held her nerve. They beat Nigeria, who were, to be honest, the better side across the 90 minutes and extra time. So I think Nigeria will feel quite hard done by, really, with that result. But that's the way tournament football goes. And in the end, they were able to do it. And Chloe Kelly, clinically executing that final penalty. She was fantastic. So better luck to them, but they are going to need to up their game. And of course, the downside of that whole match, Lauren James.
No, Lauren James, yeah.
Stamping on one of the Nigerian players. We don't know what kind of ban she'll face yet, but that is a real blow for England.
Chetan keeping across that for us this morning. Interesting, this story, Rachel, in the Times this morning, saying Zoom, the company that revolutionised online meetings during the pandemic 3.5 years ago. We were using Zoom as a verb, weren't we? Let's Zoom. Well, apparently Zoom are telling their staff to get back to the office 3 years on. They're saying
work from home?
Well, they say they can work. It's hybrid working,
right,
but they say they want people in the office at their desks, interacting face to face.
And not on Zoom.
Not on Zoom. Apparently Google, another technology company, is trying a different strategy. They've built a hotel at their headquarters in California.
Wow.
And they're encouraging people to move to the hotel for their nights at work,
Yeah.
and then just sort of commute from the hotel room.
You can see all kinds of problems emerging from that with staff interacting in hotels. Just one that I'll mention briefly, little public health message for you all here. There's a story in the Mail this morning that half of us cannot help taking our phones to the loo with us. We just cannot put our mobile phones down. So when we go for a nice sit down, the phone comes too. And doctors are saying there are issues here. First of all, with potential transference of bacteria, because they're not the cleanest places to be, but also just, you know, issues with general functions that can occur if you sit down for too long.
The knock-on effects.
The knock-on effects, exactly.
OK, we have been warned. Thank you, Rachel, for the advice.
It's at the front of the papers, then, for the first time this morning, remarking on the fact that only 15 asylum seekers have taken their places on that controversial Bibby Stockholm barge. The Metro has the headline, "Not all aboard." The Mirror reacts to that news, calling the government's immigration policy clueless. The Express blames lawyers for there being so few migrants aboard the vessel. Mail carries the Home Secretary Suella Braverman's praise for the paper's reporting on allegedly unscrupulous immigration lawyers. The Times reports that wages are expected to rise at a faster rate than inflation, and in doing so ease worries over the cost of living. According to The Telegraph, a possible ban on new oil boilers aimed at meeting the government's net zero targets has been met with resistance by some Tory MPs. The Eye reports that Ofqual, the regulatory body for exams, will not make any dispensations to take account of teachers' strikes when marking for A-level students who are due to receive their results next week. The Guardian has the findings of a study linking air pollution to antibiotic resistance. The FT hears that in a difficult environment for private equity firms, they're increasingly offering potential client sweeteners like discounts on fees. And here's a star. Yes, it has its notorious lettuce, gets that out of the freezer to cover Liz Truss's honours list. If you want to see more on that, any of the front pages, any of the stories indeed, then do scan that QR code that you can see on your screen.